We're rolling. Now, do you believe the Messiah pre-existed before coming into earthly existence?
Pre-existed before coming into earthly existence?
Yes.
So like his spirit existed before it was inside of a flesh?
Correct, yes.
I mean, I believe that everybody's spirit exists before it's in flesh, so of course.
Saying, right? You saying, if you don't believe, you best believe. You know what I'm talking about? There's only one. There's only one that can create all this right here.
So you believe he pre-existed?
Yeah, huh?
You believe he pre-existed?
Every afterlife too. What they don't get? You ain't got no faith, man? You're lost in this world. You feel me?
Yes, I do believe that he created the existence.
But do you believe he pre-existed before he came down in fleshly form?
Yes.
You do?
Yes, I do. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
I mean, I don't know whether but if you have faith and belief, you believe that he is, and if you believe in the Bible, I'm a minister's daughter, so I have to believe, yes, Messiah exists.
Do you believe he pre-existed before he came down?
I do.
Now, my next question to you is, what scriptural references could you tell me to go to validate that? Because we're told to prove all things.
And I'm not all that good. I wish I were that person who could, repeat scriptures like that. Every time I do, I always hit my phone and say, what I believe.
Now, where could you go to find this in scripture?
I don't know. I'm not religious.
So do you believe in the one they call Jesus?
No, I don't believe. I mean, not saying I don't believe that his name, like that it wasn't somebody that came and like showed people how to live and how to be of God. But I don't believe that his name was Jesus. That's how long the alphabet, how old it is. Like I just know like too much research stating like why like the Bible contradicts itself. So I don't necessarily believe that his name was Jesus, but I believe that someone exists to teach us how to do the right thing.
Faith?
Yeah.
I can't give you a scripture, but I can tell you I do believe that.
All right. Thank you, miss. So you believe the Messiah pre-existed or?
Actually, I don't know what it is.
You don't know what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. How goes it, everybody? Clearly, it's very easy to see that there may be some confusion about our Messiah, whether he pre-existed or only existed once he came down. Who was he, who is he, and who will he be in the coming kingdom? So what I have to do today is kind of open the door to this topic, issue, and get to the root of it. And you can listen to what the Messiah himself says. So we're just going to dive into this from the word of John 1 through 4. Okay, this is John 1, verse 1 through 4. It says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim. He was in the beginning with Elohim. All came to be through him, and without him not even one came to be that came to be. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. I want to go from here down to verse 10. It says, he was in the world, and the world came to be through him. So again, we're told that through him all things were created, and the world did not know him. This verse continues to go on. It talks about him coming to his own, and many did not receive him. But what I want to capsize on is the fact that it speaks of this word. Now, using scriptures, who was the word of Yahweh? Because Yahweh spoke in the beginning, let there be light. So thus he spoke words. But who is the intermediary? Who are we told is the intermediary between Yahweh and earth? We're going to get to that in a little bit. From here, we're going to go to John chapter 5, verse 37. Alright, now John chapter 5, verse 37 through verse 39 says, and the Father who sent me, he bore witness of me. You have neither heard his voice at any time nor seen his form. And you do not have his word staying in you because you do not believe him whom he sent. You search the scriptures because you think you possess everlasting life in them. And these are the ones that bear witness of me. But if you go down to verse 46, same chapter, it says, for if you believe Moshe, and this is the Messiah talking, you would have believed me, since he wrote about me. But if you do not believe his writings, how shall you believe my words? Wow. So here we're being told that Yahshua was sent by Yahweh, thusly making him the intermediary. He was the liaison between Yahweh and the people. And then we're also being told very blatantly and bluntly that you ain't even seen his form nor heard his voice. So anytime that these prophets or these patriarchs were under the impression that they were speaking to Yahweh, they were actually talking to Yahshua based off his own words. You know? From here, let us go to John chapter 6, verse 45. It says, it has been written in the prophets, and they shall all be taught by Yahweh. Everyone then who has heard from the Father and learned comes to me. Not that anyone has seen the Father, except who is from Elohim has seen the Father. And this is the Messiah speaking. So again, this would automatically eradicate Adam and Eve, Moses, and the 70 elders who were convinced that they were speaking or seeing Yahweh. That was actually Yahshua. This guy has been very busy. He was in the garden and, he had spoke with Moshe directly and the 70 elders on Mount Sinai when we were given the laws. And we were thinking that Yahweh was speaking, and we asked Moshe to tell him to stop speaking because it was too much for us. That wasn't Yahweh. That was Yahshua, because we're clearly told twice over that we hadn't even heard his voice, nor seen his form. So the burning bush, if that wasn't Yahweh, then who was it? It only leaves the Messiah. But we're going to keep going, though, because this gets pretty interesting, though. So if you go down in the same chapter, verse 62 says, what if you see the son of Adam going up where he was before? This is the Messiah speaking again. Another jewel he's dropping there. What do you mean going up before? Like you've been there before. He was there before, apparently. And he says, what if you see the Son of Man, referring to himself, going up to where he was before? People overlook these things. From there, let us go to John chapter 8, verse 58 says, Yahshua said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham came to be, I am. And let me stop here because the Hebrew phrase for I am is Yah. So he used one form of Yahweh's name. He said before Abraham came to be, Yah, I am. Meaning that he was before Abraham. And of course this man, I think at the time, he wasn't even 50, 40. Clearly he wasn't any age he should have been claiming to be, that he was before Abraham in his earthly flesh. And so the carnal mind couldn't understand it. They didn't understand this, but these were the same ones who searched the scriptures for everlasting life, but they bore witness of him and they were blinded to. He's telling us blatantly that he pre-existed. He was there before. But we're going to keep going though, because this gets even better. From there, let's go to John 16:28. I came forth from the Father and have come into the world again. I leave the world and go to the Father. So last time we read about him talking about what if you see the Son of Man going up where he was before, and now we're being told that he leaves the world again, meaning that this could have been his first time here. Crazy. This is when it happens when you let scripture interpret scripture, but you don't even have to look too hard. It's right there. But let us keep going though to John 17 verse 5. Here it reads, and now esteem me with yourself, Father, with the esteem which I had with you before the world was. Bro, if that ain't seeking in, I don't know what it is. What esteem would this guy have had before if he didn't pre-exist? Then he's already telling us that he was there before. He's already telling us that he will lead and he will lead the world again as he's done before, He tells us that we have not seen nor heard the Father. And then he talks about this esteem that he's had before the world was even created, which would make sense if we go back to John when it talks about the Word was with Elohim. Yahshua is the Word. That's who he is. And for those who are having a hard time conceptualizing this relationship, I'm going to break it down to you using scripture, of course, because everything done in the Old Testament was a foreshadow, a precept of things to come, But we can take a look at it and help us to better understand these heavenly things that they're trying to convey to earthly carnal beings such as ourselves. But from there, let us go to Psalms chapter 2, 1 through 3. It says, why do the nations rage and the peoples meditate emptiness? The kings of the earth take their stand and the rulers take counsel together against Yahweh and against this Mashiach and say, let us tear apart their bonds and throw away their ropes from us. Well, Psalms was written, I believe, over 400 years before the Messiah even came into fleshly existence. If you run it in conjunction with Isaiah 53, apparently they knew that he was to come. What they didn't know was that he pre-existed. But let us keep going. Let us go to Psalms 33, verse 6. It says, by the word of Yahweh the heavens were made, and all their hosts by the ruach or spirit of his mouth. That makes sense. We're told that in the beginning was the word, Yahshua, and the word was Elohim. By the way, Elohim does not mean God, people. Elohim is a Hebraic word, and it means mighty ones, plural, not God. Here we're told in Psalms 33, verse 6, that the heavens were made by the word of Yahweh. And if you read the prophets, every time that they get a message, something to prophesy about, what does it says? And the word of Yahweh came to me. That was Yahshua. These are the mysteries that he was speaking on that were concealed for ages, but now this generation is blessed enough to uncover them. Let us keep going though. From here we're going to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 7, which says, but we speak the wisdom of Yahweh, which was hidden in a secret, and which Yahweh established before the ages for our esteem, which no one of the rulers of this age knew, for if they had known, they would have not staked the master of esteem. Here we are being told about this esteem, and then Yahshua prayed, or rather asked or spoke about him being given the esteem that he had before the world was. And here we're told about this hidden secret which Yahweh had established before the ages. And then it talks about this ruler who was staked the master, and they call him the master of esteem. More precepts upon precepts. Yahshua is the truth. He's the word of Yahweh. We've always been dealing with him. Always. He didn't take the name Yahshua until he was actually Yahshua, meaning Yahweh's salvation. And that didn't happen until he came into earthly existence. But this is this hidden secret that is now being revealed. But to whom? If you continue to read, it says, but it has been written. And this is verse 9. Eye has not seen, and ear has not heard, nor have entered into the heart of man what Yahweh has prepared for those who love him. But Yahweh has revealed them to us through his Spirit. For the Spirit searches all things, even the depths of Yahweh. Woo. Well, there you go. And you know, people say, well, I'm in the Spirit of truth. I follow the Spirit of truth. And you ask them what that is, and they can't tell you scripturally, but let us find out right now. Psalms 119, 142 says, your righteousness is righteousness forever, and your Torah is truth. So for all those who say that they're in the Spirit because they read Romans chapter 7, 14, but we know that the Torah is spirit-like. And again, a lot of people say, well, we're under the Spirit of truth. But according to scriptures, truth is the law. Your righteousness is righteousness forever, and your Torah is truth. Psalms 119, 142. Anyhow, in dealing with the Messiah, whether he had pre-existed or not, I believe it has been clear, cut, and dry that surely he did. Now, earlier I told you I would help you understand this relationship, this heavenly, supernatural thing through scriptures in a earthly, carnal mindset. Now, think about Joseph. Not Yahshua's earthly father, but Joseph, who was sold into slavery. Now, we all know that Joseph rose to prominence in Egypt at that time. We also know that Joseph was of Pharaoh's household, which means he carried Pharaoh's name, which means he carried his authority. Not only that, but Joseph had been given the esteem of the whole land. Joseph ran Egypt. As a matter of fact, if you came into Egypt and didn't even know that these things had been taking place, when you spoke to Joseph, you would have sworn up and down that you were talking to Pharaoh. Joseph would have dressed like Pharaoh. He would have had on his signet ring. He'd have had on his garments that a high person of esteem would wear. And he would have had his authority. You would have seen people bowing down to this man. You would have swore up and down that you were talking to Pharaoh. But the truth is, you were not. You were talking to an intermediary. And here Joseph is a like or a likeness of Yahshua. These are the scriptures that speak about him that people search but never find. We'd always been dealing with our Messiah. And when we come back, many people will be surprised to know how far from the mark they were with actually knowing him. But that's another topic for another day. We'll be digging into this a little deeper. I hope that this has inspired you to dig a bit deeper as far as who you worship and the pre-existence of our Messiah. And Yahweh willing, you would walk away knowing more than you did before. My neighbors are important. Shalom.